Every year, we have a couple players come out of nowhere to surprise with fantastic, gigantic statistical seasons. And other times, we have players completely fall off the map after having gigantic statistical seasons. So, let's run through each major category in fantasy football and see who we think is going to fall off and who we think is going to jump back in for this upcoming NFL season. We would love if fantasy football stats and progression were linear. It would make things a little bit easier. Probably make it less fun, but it would certainly make it less stressful. I think today, pretty good exercise here. We're going to run through each major category, yards and touchdowns in passing, rushing, and receiving, and just talk about who I think is going to fall out of the top 5, who I think is going to enter the top 5 when it comes to those categories. The rule I made for myself is I had to pick at least 2. One of these, you'll find out very soon, I picked 3, but I had to pick at least 2 to fall out and then jump back in. So let's start with passing yards. To refresh your memories, Joe Burrow led the world in passing last year, followed by Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and Sam Darnold. I think if you would have guessed 1 through 5 on that list going into the season, you'd be a millionaire by now, if such parlays existed. I think 3 guys fall out of this one this year. I tried to not just have, the last 2. It did kind of end up that way for a few of these, including this one. I think Darnold falls out. We talked before about some concerns that we have about him going from basically a perfect situation to one that feels like almost the worst situation possible for him. So I think he's out. I do think Geno Smith is out. I think that we talked the other day about how he is going to a better situation with better talent around him in terms of the offensive line. In terms of the pass catchers, I don't know if it's going to be there. And in terms of the volume that he's going to be able to throw, I don't know if it's going to be there either. And I also knocked Jared Goff off of this. I have real worries with Ragnow going down with, retiring, right before training camp started. I have some real worries about what this offense is going to look like. So in terms of putting up the second most passing yards in the league, I don't think he's going to do that. So who takes their place? Well, for the easy one, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like that feels pretty safe to me, right? I mean, maybe not, because he was kind of middle of the pack, but to predict, hey, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a good season, that feels pretty safe for me. I think that this year, the offensive line, it feels improved. I know they got, they shipped Tooney out, but from all accounts, the kid they drafted seems to be doing pretty well, and so I think that there's a bonus there. I think Travis Kelce kind of understands what he needs to do now, and if he doesn't, I think Noah Gray is going to be a bigger part of this offense. Rashee Rice is going to miss some time at some point this season, but when he is in there, I've talked about it before, I just feel like with Rice, Worthy, Brown, all these guys just fit a little better as a 1, 2, 3 instead of trying to piece together, all right, who's the number 1 here? Rice can be that guy. And so with that, I think Mahomes has a bigger year. Also, he's going to have Kareem Hunt for the entirety of the season, a pretty strong pass catching option out of the backfield instead of that dude Steele, who everyone liked for a couple of weeks. So I just feel like the whole situation is going to be better for him. Next one up, I have Jordan Love making his way into it. He probably would have been in here this year if he would have stayed healthy. This offense has more weapons than they know what to do with, and they drafted another in the first round in Golden, and everyone is gushing about this kid. You have Josh Jacobs. Pass catching has never been the majorest part of his game, but I think that's an underrated aspect. I think he is a talented player with the football. I think this offense is going to do big things this year, and I think Jordan Love could be at the center of that, and so I think the yardage totals gonna go up for this season. And the last one, I have Justin Herbert. Yes, they had the injury on the offensive line, but Joe Alt just slides to the left, and that's a very, very good fix to put that there. They bring in Keenan Allen, him with Ladd McConkey, I think is an interesting kind of 1-2 punch. That they have Quentin Johnston in there as well. I think that's a bit more of a dynamic passing attack. And these guys threw the ball a lot as the season went on. First impressions tend to last in football. they started the year running it. But then they kind of realized, like, hey, our best player is Herbert, so maybe we should get the ball in his hands a little bit more. And I think Hampton is basically just the guy there right now. Najee Harris might make his way back in, but I think they're going to be looking to pass the ball a lot. So I think Herbert is going to be able to sneak in to the top 5 in passing yards. For touchdowns, it was basically the same group. Burrow, Mayfield. We also had Lamar Jackson making the appearance here. That makes sense. Jared Goff and Sam Darnold. And so again, the two that made it into this list from the last one that I had getting knocked off, I'm knocking them off again. It's Goff and Darnold. We broke down the reasons why. I have Mahomes making it back into the passing category. I think that this is going to be an improved offense this year. And I think that having Kareem Hunt as a bit of an emergency hatch is going to help them out a bit. And then the weeks that Rashee Rice is going to be there, he's a big, strong red zone target. I think he'll be good. And I think Josh Allen gets in there as well. I think that what we talked before with the breakouts or potential breakouts, I think Dalton Kincaid has a chance to really level up this year, and I think Keon Coleman has a chance to level up this year, and both those guys can be really solid red zone options. This is always going to be a bit more of a run-first team, but I do think that they are going to have a few more options to pass the football, and I think they are still going to look at trying to conserve at least a little bit of energy with Josh Allen as the season rolls on, so he's not just going to be Mike Allstott at the goal line for today's dated reference. But I think that this is going to be an offense that throws a little bit more in the red zone. Let's move now into the rushing yards. Last year's leaders, rather famously, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And so again, it felt lazy, but I picked the last two. Gibbs, talked about it with Goff. I think he gets hurt by it a lot with Ragnow being out at center. I think that that's going to be something that this offense has to deal with. And again, a different scheme out there as well. With Jonathan Taylor, he just got every last bit of volume as that season kind of wore on, and they just ran that guy into the ground. I think they will have at least a touch more of a balanced attack this season. And I worry a little bit about health, quite frankly. Now, I do with Saquon as well. I mean, honestly, all these guys is running back, but a little bit of a concern there for me. I have Kyren Williams. Matthew Stafford coming back to practice at the time of this recording, so hopefully the offense isn't as bad as some people were concerned about it being going into this year. The guy is a tank, and yes, Devontae Adams is there now as a pass-catching option down around the goal line, but Kyren Williams, I think, has a chance to really, I don't want to say break through, because he's broken already. He's broken through, but I think that he still has a chance at a big year. And then the other one is Chase Brown. I think that this is a guy who can really put up some major yards now. He is the only mouth to feed in that backfield. Yeah, Samaje Perine's probably going to take some, and it'll be frustrating, but I just think Chase Brown, with everyone a little worried about what the Bengals can do in the passing attack, I do think that Brown is going to be able to have a couple of big moments here. So I worry about the offensive line, obviously, but I think the kid's incredibly talented, and I think he could have a very big year here for Cincinnati. For rushing touchdowns, again, some familiar faces here. Henry, Cook, Gibbs, James Cook with Buffalo, Josh Jacobs with Green Bay, and then we had a three-way tie of Hurts, Kyren, and Bijan. I took Cook and Gibbs out, kind of explained it. We did explain it already with Gibbs. With Cook, again, I think that they have a couple of red zone options that can step up a little bit more for them this year. So I don't know if it is going to be just spam him at the goal line this season. I think that they're going to use a few more options around that spot, and so I think he takes his way out of it. Coming in to this top 5, I think, for rushing touchdowns, I have Chuba Hubbard. I think that, again, Carolina's offense is going to be improved for the upcoming season, and I think Chuba Hubbard, again, basically has run of the backfield and is going to get a lot of opportunities to pound that rock in for some touchdowns. And James Conner as well. I think Arizona has a chance to be a sneaky good football team. If Marvin Harrison Jr. can progress a little bit, the defense that they made a couple of really good additions this offseason, I kind of like Arizona a little bit here. So I think James Conner is going to have a few more opportunities down at the goal line. Let's go into the receivers now, or at least we will in just a second. But first, want to remind you guys, we do have a tip jar here with Couch Potato. If you want to help support it, or just help support the treat habits of my dog and cats, including the right there, then hit the link on Twitch and Kick. It is a panel, and YouTube, there is a link in the description. Same thing goes for podcast form. Would really help us out here at Couch Potato Diaries. Again, trying to make this a more regular thing and make this a more serious thing and a bit more of a sustainable thing for me. So, I understand times are what they are. Not required, not expected, but would be greatly, greatly appreciated if you could do that. Let's go into the receiving room now. The leaders for receiving yards from last season. A couple surprises in here, I'll be honest. Jamar Chase, not one of them. Justin Jefferson, obviously not one of them. Brian Thomas Jr. was third. I remember him being good last year. I don't remember that. So congratulations to him. Drake London was fourth. I basically just remember Kirk Cousins throwing a football that just wobbled in the air the whole time. So for Drake London to be able to put that up kind of makes me realize that maybe I misremember how the season went for the Atlanta Falcons. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. That one checks out. So guys who I have coming out this year. I have Thomas Jr. coming out. That's an absurd number to put up. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot more help on the offensive side, and I think he's going to have a lot more of the attention on the offensive side this year. So I would have some concerns about him going into this year. And the other one, this is probably the hottest take of all of them, but it's Jamar Chase. I just have worries, that Cincinnati, the offensive line issues are just going to be too much for this team to overcome this year. I think also Chase Brown makes it a bit more of a well-rounded offense. And so I just don't know if all that volume and all of those opportunities are going to be there for Chase this season. So he was one that I picked to come out. Guys going in, Garrett Wilson. I think this is an incredibly talented human being as a wide receiver, and I just don't think he has had the quarterbacks to take advantage of it yet. Not saying that Justin Fields is out here being Tom Brady or anything, but Justin Fields is very good at, hey, first read, and throwing it there, or tucking tail and running. I think the offense is just going to be better in general. I think Wilson is going to be the apple of the eye of Fields this season, and so I think Wilson has a very big year. And we're staying in New York for this one as Malik Neighbors. Again, he has a significant upgrade at quarterback, and I think the sky is the limit for this kid. He is incredibly talented, and I think he has a chance to really have a monster season for the Giants. So I think he comes up into the top 5 in receiving yards. And then receiving touchdowns, again, Chase, McLaurin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Evans, and Andrews. I took Andrews out, tight end back there. We talked about how big of a year this is for him, but I don't know. They run the ball a lot, not that they didn't last year. I have to think that Flowers and Bateman step up as receiving options again, but we will see. So maybe I'm just, the last name, whatever. But Evans is always going to be a red zone threat. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is always going to be as well, just with how sure-handed he is. And Terry McLaurin is the other one. I think the touchdowns are still going to be there for Chase. Maybe just not as many offensive yards for him. But McLaurin is the other one who I think is going to be out. It has started very strangely in Washington this year. And I think Debo is going to get a few more red zone type of looks, being the more type of a guy. So that would be the one that I would go with there. To take their place, Justin Jefferson felt like an obvious one. I think this offense is still going to be good, and I think that young quarterback is going to look at excellent receiver a few times to put him in. So honestly, there was a bunch of guys right around the top 5, and I was just looking, I was like, oh, well, the best receiver in football is there, so I'll just throw him in. And then the other one, I'm dying on this Kincaid Hill, apparently. I think the kid's going to be good. And so again, if I think that we are going to see an uptick in the touchdowns for Josh Allen this year, they got to go to someone. And I think Kincaid, again, he was the reason why I thought Allen could have more passing touchdowns. So it makes sense to put him on this list. So those are some stat projections, I guess, for the upcoming season. What did you guys think? I can't imagine I just batted 1,000 on things that you agreed with there. So your biggest gripe, you know what? Weird Bearded Guy's got a point. Let me know in the comments or in the chat here as we continue on. Things always changing with Couch Potato Diary, but make sure you get all the updates on social media. I am at Primetime Klein, Instagram, X, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads. I almost called it Blue Threads. I'm sure that one's coming very, very soon. So yeah, give me a follow on there. Gonna start posting a lot more content from the shows coming up in the next little while on social media as I try to be an actual, podcast and content creator instead of just, hey, I'm going live. Please watch. I'm going to actually start to post some stuff on there. So make sure you give me a follow on all platforms.